Hi, Kat over at Cohost. I am so excited for our quick tips today. I have my wonderful, dearest friend, Julia Whitehouse on. She is a writer, comedian, storyteller, mom, so much. She and I met in high school and have been friends ever since. We lived in New York together for years and years, not in the same apartment, but in the grander city. And she started a storytelling night, how many years ago now?
7. We're moving into our 8th year, and we just celebrated 7 years in March.
It's the longest running storytelling night in New York.
Weekly storytelling open mic.
Got it. Got to get the specifics right on it there. So when we lived in New York, because we only moved out here about 6 years ago, it was right when you had just started, and I got to tell a couple stories at your story hour. And then now when I come back to visit, I get to tell stories. But for those of people watching who don't know what storytelling is, what do you call it?
Oh, well, when you break it down, storytelling is just facts plus feelings.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's any story that you think of. It's a series of events, and the emotions involved in those events.
My kids obviously always want me to tell them a story.
Oh.
And they will say things like, tell me a story about when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And honest to God, no memories. Like as soon as somebody says, tell me a story, my brain goes blank.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Can I give you some hot tips for dredging up memories?
Yes, this is what we're here for.
Hot tip. All right. Quiet space.
Okay.
Try and find it.
Sure.
Try and find a mom of two.
Yeah.
Quiet space, light a candle, set a timer for 20 minutes.
And just sit.
Just and give yourself a prompt, like the first time I was kissed, or the first time I felt alone, or whatever. Like there are 1,000 different ways that you can find a prompt online, or like I could send you a list of prompts, but you can figure it out. Set a timer for 20 minutes and just start writing. Just see what comes out.
I love that.
Memories, they will flood back. They will flood back. Yeah. And/or tell your brain that you want to remember, like before you go to bed, like tell your brain that you want to remember, more things or whatever, something specific, and your brain will help you as like in your dreams. I know it sounds cuckoo.
It does.
But you West Coasters, you get it, right?
And what I also like about storytelling in general, because I like telling stories, I like when we're all grouped together, not have to be sitting by a bonfire, but it helps. But when you're recounting something that happened to you, and you can do it in a way that is fluid, that keeps people's interests, so that it doesn't feel like you're telling somebody about the dream you had last night, where it's like, and you were there, but it wasn't really you. It was the shape of you, one of those.
And we were running terrorists.
Exactly. In a hospital, always in a hospital. What is the difference then? Like, what are some tips for people that just want to tell the story a little bit better? They have a story that they like to tell. How do you tell it better?
Well, make sure that you're including how you feel about things. Oftentimes our first tellings or our first drafts, if we're me personally, it's all just like, this happened and then this happened and then this happened and then this happened. Isn't that crazy? And no, like the story is not about like the hurricane. It's about how you survived it.
Right.
You as a hero. If you're interested in storytelling, I don't want you to think about this has to be absolutely true. I have to fact check this thing. Like I don't quite remember, but like I should check with everybody that was involved, and like that will keep you from actually telling the story. Like if you simply just write down all the things you do remember as true to your heart as humanly possible, and then your feelings around them. That's all that needs to be done. And be kind to the memory of yourself as well as you are working on your stories. You are the hero that we want to hear from. And some of the things that you talk about may be embarrassing or shameful. Hopefully those are where our
Right. Yes, exactly.
those
Or that.
stories from. Make sure that you're telling a story that you have processed.
Yes.
So that I try to tell stories that are at least 3 to 5 years, in the past, at least that far away, because I've had time to think about it, and maybe it relates to something that has happened recently, and that's why it comes up. But by the time that we're thinking about things 5 years ago and creating stories from then, we've had enough time to for the dust to settle, for the scar to develop, so that we're not all bloody and making an audience feel unsafe when we're telling it. The best advice that I can give to somebody that wants to tell a story or get up on stage or is fearful of what I have to say, it's not worth it, or just know that everybody has that voice, and it's a shitty little voice, and we all have it, and you're not alone. Most of the time I'm telling myself, stop talking, but I try not to listen. And
also, when you're in the audience, I feel like, or when you're listening to something or consuming that art, I don't go into it with an idea of what I hope this person says, how I hope it turns out. Going to a comedy show, you're hoping to laugh, but I don't know how I'm going to laugh. It's more than just an open mind. It's the idea that the person on the stage should also recognize, when they were sitting in the crowd and listening, that they had a generous, open heart.
Yeah.
And people are giving them that also.
Exactly. We want to know, we want to know what other people are feeling. Consume as much as you can. It will inspire you, and also just get up and do it.
Yeah.
What you'll find is that you don't explode. And everybody cares about you, and it doesn't matter. It is
right.
Everyone is on your side and nobody cares.
But it's so true. Telling the story is its own thing for you. It doesn't matter what everybody else feels about it.
Yeah, exactly. And you are going to be so surprised at how the thing that you thought was the thing that was important about your story actually isn't what everybody thinks is important.
Right.
People will take things from your story and that you were oh, I had no idea.
What are some of your other favorite storytelling platforms?
Well, I've told stories at the Moth. Risk is another one, and they are still doing live shows. They've done, I think, have one coming up tonight, actually. The Risk podcast and live show they do over Zoom. Mm-hmm. They just had a write-up in the New York Times, actually, as well. And some other shows that I really love. I love Nights of Our Lives. That's a great show, and that can be found online somewhere. I'm not quite sure. It's not quite a podcast. It's like a radio format.
Okay, anyway, I'll look for it.
Nights of Our Lives, and sorry, being put on the spot.
No, but another one we can check out online is yours, because now you are doing your weekly, every Monday night show from home.
Yes, it's true. Happy Hour Story Hour is live every single Monday at 7 p.m., as it always has been for the past 7 years, but now it's on Instagram Live Stories. So all you have to do is follow me on Instagram, DM me, and I will put your name in the hat, and you get to tell your 5-minute story with a beginning, middle, and an end. It doesn't have to be perfect. No story is perfect. Every story is in flux and fluid. This is a fluid medium.
This has been super, super helpful. I love it. So Julia's show, of course, Happy Hour Story Hour, still happening every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So that's 4 p.m. us. We'll link to her Instagram, and she's also a teacher at Story Studio. So if you wanted to learn a little bit more about storytelling and how to really up your game there, she's the gal to talk to.
Thank you for having me. I love this series. I love you, Kat. Thank
Love
you, Cohost, for doing me.
Yes. I love you. I love you.
I love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.